Welcome to Uncanny X-Minutes, where we bring you the comics behind the movies. I'm Sasha.
I'm producer James.
And we're here to talk about X-Men First Class, minutes 30 through 40. James,
that's right.
What happens?
Here's what happens. Professor X, he teams up with the CIA.
Crazy, but true.
Magneto tears down Shaw's yacht.
That's actually incredible.
And then almost drowns himself.
That's less incredible.
And then what will be Magneto's helmet is gloriously revealed.
The helmet is so good.
It's so good.
They actually nailed that. I mean, the color isn't, but listen.
I'm fine with the color.
That's fine.
It's changed colors over the years too.
It's not the traditional pink and fuchsia, but I will accept this. It's good.
Yeah.
We were talking about this. We were talking about the helmet when we were watching the 10 minutes just to refresh it. And it looks so Roman.
Yeah.
That's, I think, why the style has endured.
Yes, it's unchanged since day one, since X-Men #1.
It's crazy. That's crazy.
Insane.
Yeah. There's very few characters that remain that consistent.
Yeah.
Gambit, I think, is another one.
Oh, yeah.
Where they just nailed that
If it didn't look like that, it wouldn't be them. That's why when X-Men 97 came out, I think people were like, where's his everything? What is this outfit he's wearing? And we're like, well, technically.
This is also him.
Pushed up my glasses and did my thing.
Yeah.
But yes, no, the helmet, I didn't realize how much is behind the helmet.
It was really interesting because the helmet, to me, I also realized it's important. But I think because we just consume so much X-Men, it kind of fades a little into the background.
Sure.
But talking to Brian, who comes in for our Avengers content, and he's not an X-Men aficionado, despite being married to me somehow. But he was like, when we were talking about the helmet, we're like, I wonder how important people think the helmet is. He's like, the helmet's the thing. To him,
it is one of the most iconic elements of X-Men.
Which I find to be really interesting because to me it doesn't really.
Well,
but
I believe
he feels that way.
He doesn't take it off for
a long time.
A long time. Magneto is always wearing that helmet in the Silver Age run, till maybe 62 or something like that.
Okay.
It's crazy.
That is really long. I mean, I guess that makes sense if you are literally in constant battle with Professor Xavier and he's literally trying to hunt you down. That tracks.
62.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Here's some things I did not realize. Originally, it's not just... So, this movie makes it seem like the design of the helmet is what keeps out telepaths.
Right.
It did not really start that way.
Okay.
It was circuitry in the helmet used in tandem with his magnetic powers.
Okay. That kind of tracks because
Sure.
there was just even Cerebro was more techie. You know, I feel like when X-Men was starting in the Silver Age, the writers were enthralled with the new the computer.
It was
age.
a lot of transistors.
Yes. So
everything's made of transistors.
This kind of makes sense to me.
So there's a run called X-Men versus Avengers, not Avengers versus X-Men.
So not AVX.
Not AVX. This is XVA. Magneto's going to be put on trial, but not the trial of Magneto. This is post X-Men number 200.
Okay. Magneto gets on trial quite a bit.
Magneto hasn't been using his helmet. Professor X is not on Earth.
Right. He's with the Shi'ar.
That's where we're at right now.
Okay. So he's with with
bird
Lilandra.
Girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Magneto gets his helmet again. He tweaks with the circuitry, and then all of a sudden is kind of telepathic with it, limited. His plan is to use the helmet and erase mutant prejudice from everyone on Earth.
This is sounding familiar. Okay. Interesting.
And so what he does is the X-Men and the Avengers are about to fight. He somehow teleports them to him using magnets.
I mean, they're definitely wearing metal. This is acceptable.
No, but this is a teleportation. They disappear.
Oh.
This isn't just let's move them. They just disappear.
Maybe they just moved so fast, James. The comic could not capture them.
It's like those videos where this frame rate's exactly what the hummingbird's wings are.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
It's just like that.
Exactly like this. Magnets work exactly like this.
So basically, he tells the X-Men his plan, but he also has Captain America there on purpose because he's like, I won't run this by you.
You guys know how I feel about Captain America and X-Men comics, so let's see where this goes.
So basically, Captain America's like, you shouldn't.
Of course.
Because that's not right. It's not right to just change everyone's mind all at once. Which, what's your thought of erasing hatred?
Okay. I would do it. Listen, maybe Captain America's right, but you know what? That's why I'm not a fan of Captain America, okay? I'm with the X-Men, and we do stuff like this.
This is how we do it. So Magneto uses it on Captain America and is like, I'm gonna erase the prejudice from your mind. It's not there.
Because Captain America doesn't have prejudice. This
Right.
is a factual statement.
Right.
I do know this to be
So
true.
so nothing happened.
Well, correction. Captain America doesn't have prejudice at this point in the comics because he's their golden boy. I will say in later X-Men comics, it's very clear that he does and he wrestles with it, and it's very good. But
Yes.
I just want to clarify
Sure.
that.
At this point, he does not have it.
So they say.
Magneto goes, okay, you know what? Not all people are bad, so I won't do it to him. So stuff happens, yada, yada, yada. Fast forward a little bit.
I feel like they needed to combine the powers of this and Thor's hammer and be like, can you lift it? Yes, you get skipped for mind cleaning.
So what he knows, one of the judges on the trial is super racist towards mutants.
I've definitely read this.
I guess it's not racist. I guess it's not racist. It's speciest.
Yes, I guess.
Prejudice.
Yes.
He's super prejudiced towards mutants. So he goes, I'm just going to wipe it from that guy. And so he does. He destroys the helmet, goes to trial, brings it through the window, reconnects it, wipes his mind, and then destroys the helmet again.
That's incredible. I would do it. Listen, yeah.
So when he goes out, the judge goes, all right, we're holding you up for war crimes is what's going on. But since you declared war but didn't agree to like the Geneva Convention, you're cool.
Okay. I feel like this is fair. Because what he could have done was been like, I changed your mind, so you declare me free.
Sure.
Of charge. That's not what he did,
No,
though.
that's not what he did.
He just cleaned it up a little.
But then he feels guilty because he's like, would he have let me go anyway? And he wrestles, like, that's the end of the issue, is him being like, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Well, it's too late now.
Now I don't know which way it was going to go. And that's the end of the issue.
Very strange.
Very strange.
That's I as you've been telling me the story, I am like having a little itch in the back of my brain. I'm like, I've read this. I just like
But I mean, those details
they slip by.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because like someone's like, sometimes when you read some of these older comics, you're like, he brings the helmet through the window, he reassembles it. You're like, like let's like whatever.
Past this, a lot of it doesn't really. The circuitry kind of goes away.
Yeah,
it becomes more of like the helmet is its own design, and the design works.
Yeah.
So there are a few instances of either a helmet or something based on it, like the rioted Xaviers in New X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
Quentin Quire finds a helmet that's like basically it's a modified version of Magneto's helmet. He slaps that bad boy on Professor X, and Professor X is basically helpless.
Right.
Because he can't use any of his abilities.
Right.
We will see that in Deadpool Wolverine as well.
Yeah, lock in versus lock out. It works both ways.
Right. We also have X-Men Red from 2022, where I apologize. We don't have time to explain all of this.
X-Men Red is incredible. You should read Krakoa first, but then you should read X-Men Red.
Basically, the only thing I will say is the X-Men terraformed Mars.
Araco.
And turned it into Araco.
Yeah.
And a sister set of mutants live on Mars, now known as Araco.
Related to Apocalypse. Don't ask.
It's a whole thing. But basically, their government is ruled by warring warriors, essentially.
Very militaristic, very 300.
So the only way to get a seat is to defeat the person at the seat. Mm-hmm. So Magneto takes on a guy named Tarn the Uncaring. And this guy can manipulate biological matter. So you have no chance. He's too powerful. So as soon as the battle starts, Magneto puts his helmet on him because he's realized that his ability is more telekinetic than he lets on and more telepathic. It's like psychokinetic. That's the word they use.
Yes.
So once he does that, he can't use his power, and then he crushes the helmet.
And he wins. Yeah.
There's a whole thing off to the side with Sunspot making a bet with a mutant that cannot lose.
Yes.
that also I think works in tandem with this.
It does.
And it's amazing.
It's incredible. Sunspot is like if Sebastian Shaw was on the good side.
Exactly.
He rules.
We have Astonishing X-Men number 46, where Cyclops is fighting an evil alternate version of Xavier, and he basically has a team of exiles. Like, he has alternate versions of his friends, and they find a cache of Magneto helmets that they all don and then go fight.
To fight Xavier.
And it's the only way they can go do it.
This is a trend. I mean, I'm sure you don't know like exactly, but I feel like I've seen people wear or borrow or whatever these kinds of helmets because they're pretty much the only thing that's been in canon long enough to like legitimately counter Xavier.
Yeah.
Like,
and there's usually not a ton of them. So like the reason there's a cache is obviously there's multiversal nonsense going on. So all the helmets look a little different.
Right.
But they're all Magneto helmets.
Right. They're a little later, Xavier like teaches some of his students how to block him.
Yes, the red triangle defense.
Yes.
We can get in that later.
Oh, good. Okay, let's get going.
Not for this, but I mean in general.
Yes.
In Uncanny Avengers from 2015, I don't know if you know that there was a clone of the Red Skull that was created with Xavier's mind in his body.
No, did not. What? This is what happens when you don't read Avengers comics.
Well, this is Uncanny Avengers.
I know. That should have tipped me off,
right.
Really.
So, once again, Rogue gets Magneto's helmet so she can fight Red Skull. She's being controlled by him, and somebody slaps a helmet on her, and then she's like, "Let's do this."
I love.
Crack.
I mean, listen, I am definitely a Rogue Gambit shipper, but I do love a little dalliance with Rogue and Magneto. Okay.
Well, somebody put the helmet on her. It wasn't. Yeah. Anyway, Wolverine number 3 from the Krakoan era, also pretty good. Wolverine gets Magneto blackout drunk, so he can borrow his helmet.
That's funny.
So that the Green Lagoon, Magneto passes out, Wolverine grabs the helmet and then has to go fight the Pale Girl. It's another telepathic villain.
I love the idea that like if Wolverine just like asked, he'd be like, no.
I feel like he would, but
I know
because it had to do with like the Krakoan flowers being stolen and stuff. Like it was for Krakoa,
right? It's so silly. Like, but Wolverine's like, no, I'm not asking. I'm stealing it.
Lastly, this isn't one of those other instances. This is an interesting one I like. Where if you don't know, Magneto has a biological daughter named Polaris, who has also got magnetic powers.
She does.
And when she almost married Havoc turned her down at the aisle. She freaked out and took all the metal of the silverware and everything else at the wedding and turned it into a helmet, like a Magneto helmet and like a almost like a bodice as well, but still the wedding dress bottom.
Yeah.
And then she was kind of sort of evil there for an issue or two.
Yes. Okay. So we don't have time to get into this.
She's also wearing it during the Fall of X.
Yes.
She has a similar, like, it's more of an homage to her father.
Absolutely. I do want to point out that I can't get into it, but I cannot let this Polaris slander stand because that run, there's a lot of extenuating circumstances that lead up to this.
It is some nonsense, and it's a lot of Havoc's fault.
Oh, I just wanted to be very clear
you're
about
not
that.
Wrong.
I was just like, it's
but
true.
She is being she is putting her bad girl pants on.
She did put her bad girl pants on. However, I would argue this is all Havoc's fault.
100%. No argument here.
I just needed to. I know nobody knows even what run we're talking about. But I'm like, but when you come across it, just remember what I said. This is Havoc's fault, really.
And that's not. And they're telling you it is his fault. Like this isn't.
Yeah.
This isn't like we're just reading it a different way.
Like the nurse, they kind of. I've read that run, and they're like, it depends. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I agree with you.
Yes, Polaris rules. Sometimes Havoc deserves the mess he creates. Let's just put it that way.
Agreed. But it's pretty cool that she just creates a Magneto helmet. Is really
that.
more of what
I just think that's so cool. Polaris is just like really an interesting character because like she does have these homages to her dad, like these helmets, but she doesn't really operate in the same way.
No,
it's just very different. But she has the same powers. But she's not teleporting people, so.
Right. I do love. There's a Fall of the House of X cover that has her like with basically her version of what Magneto's outfit would be.
Mm-hmm. The all green, and then also like I guess it is more like his costume, like his cloak.
white. It's like his white one with the black stripes.
Yeah.
But it's all green, and it looks awesome.
She's great.
She is great.
Polaris. I have a question.
Yes.
And you might not know the answer to this.
She's in The Gifted. You're right.
Yes,
Sorry.
that's true. I know. I've watched The Gifted. I did because I
started to
yearn for X-Men content. Is there, in your research, did you find any allusions to what the helmet is made out of?
No.
That's what I was wondering. I don't think
it's
I've
just
ever.
metal.
I'm not saying that it's impossible because
Sure.
we haven't read every single issue ever. But like,
But when I
couldn't find anything.
No, I think they kind of keep it vague. They say he designed it with Charles sometimes, but I couldn't find an issue where it said that.
I think it's so funny that they use so many different like metals in the Marvel universe and they throw that stuff around and change it up all the time.
Sure.
And yet somehow with this they chose not to. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't even do it's a closely guarded secret, or something.
Right.
So, because like, why wouldn't everyone just be running around with Magneto helmets?
Right.
They're essentially tinfoil hats.
Yes. And it works. It's actually
Unless
hilarious.
it's a special metal. I'm with you.
I feel like that would have been that would make more sense.
Or maybe
But-
it's the way
Subversive.
they're forged. They have to be forged with magnetism.
Maybe. I think I like that because then it would leave Magneto as the arbiter of like who gets
Correct.
these helmets.
And Polaris's could work.
Yeah. Interesting. Anyway.
But anyway, that's a lot of the highlights of Magneto's helmet. I feel like it's interesting during his runs when he is and is not wearing his helmet.
I feel like he's not wearing it a lot of the times when Xavier is dead, which is really interesting.
Or out in space.
Like, because in the run, I think he might wear it like once or twice, but generally in the New Mutants run when Xavier is dead, he doesn't wear it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it definitely kind of reestablishes like he has no fear of psychics really except for
just
Xavier.
him.
Yeah, it's I think it's kind of compelling. That changes a little bit later, but like especially early on, there's definitely a really tight connection there.
I do like a part of me was like when this movie came out and they're like, "Ooh, Magneto's helmet was made by Shaw." I was like, "That's kind of dumb." But later in the movie, don't care.
Right.
I don't care. I love it. Like they do such a good job introducing this item and then it having such a big impact on the plot.
Yeah.
That I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think it would be. I feel like if they had leaned more into, and it does kind of look like the metals they use for Wolverine and the metals they use for Captain America and stuff. Like I wonder, because this is all silver.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wonder. I'm like, oh, maybe they would have gone that route if they had stuck with these movies or they liked this plot or something.
Well, they didn't
like,
have adamantium yet because adamantium doesn't get discovered until Origin.
Right, because this is a prequel.
This is a prequel. So you would have to go with other
vibranium,
but that's
have
not
to
in
do
the
Black
X-Men.
Panther.
That's not in the X-Men universe. So I don't think
Oh,
they have
right,
they didn't have
there's
the
no combination.
Right.
This is the problem of
Yeah.
splitting up the studios, people. Anyway,
I
that
mean,
would've
if
been
the
cool.
X-Men had their own universe straight out, there wouldn't be vibranium.
right, but they don't. They live in the. I mean, Storm was like the queen of Wakanda for a while, so
Yeah,
like
of
this
course
is not
she was.
like.
And we all loved it.
We did. Everybody did. Anyway, okay. So enough about the helmets.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to hear what I brought to the table
What
today?
you got?
So I think the kind of top of this 10 minutes, we have the fallout of the reveal of mutants existing.
Yes.
And so I kind of want to talk mostly about Xavier telling people he's a mutant, but generally at first, let's talk about secret identities.
Ooh, let's do that.
Because I feel that most people, Jean Grey is Jean Grey, right?
What?
Crazy. Like,
Yeah.
we're at the point in the Marvel universe where, especially the kind of original X-Men or like the Claremont X-Men, people know who they are.
I feel like the Marvel universe, for the most part, has eliminated secret identities from most of their superheroes.
With a few exceptions.
There's a few big exceptions.
Spider-Man primarily.
Yep. Ms. Marvel, Kamala
Yes.
Khan. She also still is. Those are the big ones.
I feel like those make
They're
the
probably-
most sense, though.
There's probably more. I'm not sure if I don't read Moon Knight.
Yeah,
He's fully
same.
covered. I don't know if people know who he is, but like the Spider Crew also all I think still hide their identities.
Yeah.
But like the X-Men Silver Age absolutely were hiding identities.
Yeah.
And more specifically, Professor X was not affiliated with the X-Men.
This is very important, like, because like he's trying to maintain the status as an impartial researcher. That's kind of the motivation of him. I'm sure he has other issues too, and we all know
because he's a mutant
Xavier.
expert.
Right.
We all know this,
Yeah.
but we don't know that he is running the superhero team.
Right. He is leveraging the fact that he's a mutant expert to and portraying the fact that he's not a mutant to portray impartiality, and also in order to try to convince people to be more open to mutants. And a lot of the rationale as to why he keeps the secret is that, I think in some ways rightly, he thinks that people will be more receptive to hear it from him if they don't believe he's a mutant.
Right.
Which, like, that actually kind of makes sense. But also, what it does mean is he is a mutant that is not obviously mutant. He has the ability to pass.
Yep.
That's an advantage for him. And then 2, he's not going through the kind of public facing poor treatment that the teenagers that he's recruited to be the front for him are going through, like, in particular.
But that really doesn't come into effect till later, because the only one that is not passing is Angel, and he straps his wings in.
Yes.
So he can be passing.
So yeah, if we're talking Silver Age,
Right.
for sure. So he doesn't actually reveal that he is a mutant until 2001.
That's crazy.
When he's in that run, you know, where he goes on TV and tells people that, like, for E for Extinction, that, like, I'm a mutant.
Yeah.
And that is the fall of Genosha. So E for Extinction, as it may seem obvious in the sounding of it, is basically the fall of, like, the mutant city where everybody, like, most of them are living. I think we've already done spoilers for X-Men 97,
Yes.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
great. So you probably already listened to that episode. It's covered very extensively at the end of that season.
Yeah.
They do. It's a little different in terms of, like, how they get to what's happening.
Sure.
But ultimately, what happens is what is in the comics. There's these Sentinels that attack and they destroy the city. Everybody dies. It's the beginning of the end, kind of. It feels like it's another mutant
It's a
genocide.
big turning point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like
It's one of the big milestones
Yeah.
of X-Men.
X-Men is, for better and for worse, quite often frequently described by which genocidal period we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, honestly, truly,
I think that is how we describe what era we're in.
a lot of times, because then we're talking about this. We're talking about
Post M Day,
post M Day, which is Scarlet Witch. We're talking about Krakoa.
Second Coming.
Like, yes, Second Coming. There's just so much. I mean, Age of Apocalypse
Yep.
is kind of a little bit of that,
Yep.
even though mutants are, like, running it, but, like, it's just global misery.
Well, a lot of
like,
the other ones change the whole dynamic.
yeah,
is the thing.
absolutely.
So, like, the runs between the runs are interesting because of these bigger events.
Right. And then even when we're talking about the viruses, there's a lot of it, a lot of viruses.
Oh, we got some
Techno-organic,
viruses. Don't worry about
Legacy, Sublime. There's a bunch. Like, in any case, that is when this period where he comes out, it's like after so many mutants have died.
Yeah.
And I think it makes sense from Xavier's perspective to, like, give up on the secret identity because something so horrible has happened that the world has let happen.
Yeah.
And there's a feeling of hopelessness and also that of uniting those who are left.
Right.
And I feel like Xavier feels like he needs to be the beginning of, like, the stand of, like, reuniting everybody back together, or whoever is left over.
Going back to secret identities.
Yes, I gotta
Like we said Silver Age, 100% secret identities.
Yeah.
Post X, well, I guess this is after Giant Size, because when Giant Size shows up, most of those mutants don't wear masks. Nightcrawler does have his image inducer, which allows him to look like a normal person, like a passing person in everyday life.
Right.
So basically, the new group of X-Men from Giant Size don't really they don't really use identities.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. Steel Man doesn't need it because he looks like a Steel Man when he's fighting. Nightcrawler has an image inducer, and Storm just gorgeous. You're not gonna stop her.
No.
I don't know
I mean,
why you
like-
would even. Anyway, the original crew does end up going to X Factor,
Yes.
and they still keep their secret identities.
Yes. They have like double secret identities, right? So they have their original secret identities, right? Cyclops, and
Yeah.
whatever. Marvel Girl at the time, technically, not.
And this
Phoenix.
is X Factor.
This is technically that's X Factor. That's their non-front name.
Okay.
So when they leave, they become exterminators. So they are
Okay.
like advertising that they are going to get rid of mutants for people. Like, so when people who are prejudiced against mutants call somebody to like beat them up and like take them away, like instead of calling government goons that might actually harm them, X Factor, which is the original X-Men, want them to call them instead so they can save these kids.
Gotcha.
And so that's their front. They come to realize later this was a bad take.
It's complicated.
It is. But so they have like a double
I was gonna
layer.
say, but none of them are Scott Summers.
No.
So
They're not even Cyclops in Exterminators. They're like
Do they have another set of names?
I don't think they do. I think they just go by Exterminators. I could be wrong about that. It's been a long time since I've read it. But like I don't think so, because it's basically like they have like ads where it's like call the Exterminators, like kind of like the Ghostbusters, honestly.
Yeah. And then there is the Siege Perilous, where they kind of get zero identities, secret and otherwise.
Yeah, they don't know really that they've lost their identities and they're going by something totally different. This is when Colossus becomes a painter.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I feel like it just kind of goes away.
It just becomes.
They just are.
Yeah. I wonder if this is I don't actually know this, but I wonder if this is an aspect of power creep, because there's a point at which they don't care.
Yeah.
like honestly, like what is the US government actually going to do?
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I think, I mean, this is when you get Jean Grey as Jean Grey.
Right.
She's not Marvel Girl.
No, she's not. She's only Phoenix if she's being possessed.
Sure.
And that's not really to hide the fact that she's Jean Grey. That's just kind of to inform other people that she's dangerous.
Yeah. And then like Beast is a big blue guy. He's and an Avenger.
Not only is he Avenger, he's like there have been multiple times in the series where he's just a scientist, like at a professor.
But I'm saying like
yeah.
he just isn't. He can't hide. He doesn't hide. He don't care.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
And Warren, I think, is out. He's just a billionaire. Because
Yes.
what are you gonna do?
There is really interesting runs where they've like kind of retconned a little bit. They've gone back and reimagined them at school with Xavier. And there's like big parts about it where it's like Angel is not, he can pass if he's binding his wings, but like because his mutation is so angelic, that also gives people like him, even though he is obviously a mutant.
Because he's canonically gorgeous.
And also, yeah, so he looks like a literal angel.
Right.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
So yeah, like secret identities and the X-Men are always kind of whatever, because they do have field code names. Like their name is supposed to be their like code name in the field, but then half the time that's not really the case.
Right.
But
yeah. Once it becomes less regimented after Scott leaves the first time, I feel like things get a little wobbly after that. They're not using code names in that same militaristic aspect anymore.
No, I feel like it's like cute nicknames.
Honestly, yeah. Like when Jubilee is with Wolverine, she's not calling him Wolverine, she's calling him Wolvie.
Yeah.
Like that's just literally a nickname.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their nicknaming is nickname.
Right.
But yeah, so that's all I think that's about the gist of the secret identity quote with the X-Men.
Used to be more important, and I think generally this kind of applies to the Marvel Universe. One last thing before we go.
Yeah.
I do feel like secret identities more relevant when you're dealing with teenagers. I think that's why you have Spider-Man. I think that's why you have Miss Marvel. I think that's why you have when the original X-Men are really young.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of get why. It makes a little bit more sense. Like there's some sort of like writing aspect that's needed there.
With Spider-Man specifically, it is his life is messy.
Right. That too.
And all of his villains tend to get mixed up with Peter Parker. So they know him and they know everyone around him. So he kind of does need to keep a tight lid on it.
Yeah, that's true too.
But that's only him specifically.
I feel like, we always say, not to get into a Spider-Man tangent.
I will always get into a Spider-Man tangent.
But I mean, like, at some point, do we blame Peter Parker for his behavior? Like, why are you the only one that gets so deeply involved with your villains, bro? Well, okay, that's actually maybe not fair with Magneto. Maybe I should back up glass houses and all that.
You see on Krakoa.
I just realized as I was talking, I was like, wait a minute.
Well, on that note.
My bias against Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Well, on that note, this is Stasha.
As producer James.
And we'll see you for the next 10.
Parker!